Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. No one, not even Teflon Don, Donald J. Trump, is above the law. This just happened this afternoon, and I had to absolutely do an episode about this because it is a momentous occasion. It's not really time to celebrate, except for the fact that the mechanisms of our country, of our Constitution, are now in motion to hold this man accountable. Here's the number one thing I'm excited about. For the next 14 months, we will be able to slow down. And here's why that matters. Donald Trump has been a master of throwing so much at the wall, so much crap at the wall, that our traditional media, hell, not even our independent media, has been able to keep up with all of the things that he has done. There are so many issues, so many things that he's done in the last 3 years that rise to the level of something to be investigated in an impeachment inquiry. Now, whether it actually rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, that's to be determined. But we will have the opportunity to slow down and take a look at it because we have not been able to do so for the past, 3 years. It's a strategy of Donald Trump. It's a strategy of his, and he's excellent at it. He's able to throw so many things at you at one time that you can't get your bearings. You can't find your way through all of the mud, and I'm trying to choose my words very carefully here, but all the crap that he throws at you. And now, because it is the job of the Congress, of the House of Representatives now, and all the subcommittees to investigate, that means they have to go meticulously through every single detail of every potential crime and misdemeanor. And if the media does their job correctly, they will have the ability to slow things down and analyze everything that has happened over the last 3 years that has been questionable. I mean, the Air Force One and his entourage using private properties, Trump's private properties, the violation of the emoluments clauses, the self-enrichment, his daughter being a representative. I mean, there's just so many different things that have happened above and beyond the 2 little things that I just mentioned. But any one of those issues would have 100% been an impeachable offense that the Republican Party would have gone headlong into, and they would have drawn it out. Here's what we said last week. Keep in mind, last week I propositioned that the only thing that I could think that Nancy Pelosi is doing is timing this. And while I'm sure they would never admit it, I believe they understand at this juncture the pressure is too high for them not to go ahead with it. I think they understand that. And they also have a strategy. They'll never admit it, and that's fine. That's not for them to admit. I'll say it. I'll say it because I thought of it. They have a strategy to stretch this out for 14 months, all the way till Election Day. And why the hell not? There should be no expectation that this should go any faster than the Benghazi hearings. There should be no expectation and no pressure from anyone on any part of this political spectrum, from conservative to communist, that we are going to speed this up under any circumstance. And that's exactly what Mitch McConnell is going to ask. He's going to ask that they're going to declare that there's nothing here and that this is a witch hunt and that we need to either vote. They're going to constantly call for a vote. They will constantly call for an official vote on articles of impeachment. And Democrats need to say, no, we're investigating. And we're going to be investigating for at least 12 months, possibly. No, I think 13 and a half months. Take the investigation all the way to Election Day. Why? Because why on earth would you give the Republican Party an opportunity to give him a political win? Because that's all it's going to boil down to. We have the opportunity to expose him. We honestly don't have an opportunity to hold him accountable, except for setting the machinations, the mechanisms of the Constitution in motion. That's it, right? Whether it was whether they were going to get a political win out of this or not, Nancy Pelosi had a responsibility to initiate this inquiry. And ultimately, I believe they have a responsibility to vote on articles of impeachment. And so I think November, what's Election Day? Hang on, I'm doing this show live, so I don't know Election Day tonight. Election Day 2020, I think, what's it like, November 7th? Election Day 2020. Come on, Google should just jump up. So let's say Election Day is November 7th. I don't know because Google is not cooperating with me. But they need to hold the vote for impeachment. Not the day of, the day before. The day before. Let's try a different browser. When, my friend, is Election Day? November 3rd, 2020. So November 2nd, Monday, November 2nd, they need to hold the official vote on articles of impeachment for Donald J. Trump. And then November 4th, the Thursday after Election Day, hand it over to the Senate. See, if you're not ready to play dirty like that, then you're not equipped to be in politics of any type in 2020. This is not the landscape for us to be idealistic. It's not the landscape for us to be generous. It is not the landscape for us certainly to be naive. It is not the landscape for us to give people the benefit of the doubt. Let me tell you something. When you are naive, you give people the benefit of the doubt, and you try to be the bigger, better person, they will gut you in your face, and they will steal your woman from you while you're bleeding out, politically speaking. Hell, business-wise, it happens every single day. So anyone who approaches this conversation from the position of we need to be the bigger people, they are decidedly not equipped for politics in 2020. I'm sorry, there is a place that we want to go. We do want to get to a place where we can certainly have a more rational and reasonable discourse in politics. But this ain't it. This year is certainly not it. And not only is this year not it, hell, the last couple of years have not been it. Think about what they did to Barack Obama, whose domestic controversies were highlighted by his olive suit. And I say domestic because there's plenty on the international stage that we should impeach the office of the presidency in general, but that's not the conversation for today. I'm saying look at how much he tried to triangulate and appeal to the greater angels of the Republican Party, only to realize that they are, if not Satan incarnate, we can't even blame the devil on how evil these people are and how much damage they have caused. Irrevocable damage that will be undoing, hell, for at least, for a generation. All right, when we come back, not everyone is happy. We'll be back after this break.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
And as always, I like to take a moment to thank our newest patrons, without whom none of this is possible. If you want to be a part of the Benjamin Dixon Show family, and you're tired of all the ads, I get it. We do a lot of ads here, particularly on the podcast. And if you're tired of the ads, go become a patron. www.patreon.com/The BPD Show. Special thanks to John A. and Taylor H. Thank you too for becoming patrons and supporters of the Benjamin Dixon Show. You are the real MVP. Now, not everyone is happy. And surprisingly, there are a lot of people on the left who aren't happy. And what's ironic, I was reading a tweet from a friend over at the Rational National, David Dole, and he was saying, he pointed this out. He said, like, people on the left, we're always screaming to hold those in power accountable. And now that we're calling for an impeachment, people are like, whoa, no. On the left, they're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't really mean that. Well, that's how you start the process of holding people accountable. Why the hell would we not start at the top? Why on earth would we not hold the president of the United States accountable? Or did you only want a particular president to be held accountable? Which would beg the question, why are you comfortable with all the crimes of Donald Trump, not only domestically, but internationally? Well, maybe this can explain why some people are on the left are not happy about this. This is Tulsi Gabbard.
Where do you stand on impeachment right this very moment?
Look, my position remains the same. I think that impeachment would be terribly divisive for our already very divided country.
Even on an impeachment inquiry?
I think Congress needs to exercise oversight over the information that's been leaked. I think that it's important that this transcript is released to Congress so that Congress can do its job. But I think the question of impeachment really would further tear apart an already divided country. I think it's important that Donald Trump is defeated. I believe I can defeat him in 2020, but it's the voters who need to make that choice unequivocally.
I'm sorry, Tulsi. What? Huh? What you? I'm thrown for a loop here, because in one breath she has all of this hubris towards Donald Trump, particularly with regard to Saudi Arabia. And I agree with her on Saudi Arabia. Like, Saudi Arabia, in her words, these are her words, and I'm only quoting them because I think it's poignant. She said Saudi Arabia has made Trump their bitch. Now, how do you have so much gumption there, right? So much spine there. And then we talk about impeachment. You're like, no, I don't know about this. Why? Because you think it is not possible. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I do not believe that that it's possible for us to become more divided than we already are, because Donald Trump has specialized over the last 3 years at dividing the country. While Democrats are trying to be kumbaya and all that, and giving people the benefit of the doubt, and maybe we should reach out to Trump voters who are disillusioned and bring them over. While Democrats have been doing that, Donald Trump has mastered the art of dividing America so that he can shore up his 33% that he has that supports him no matter what. And so if your fear is a greater divided America, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to be patient with the man who is not only dividing America, but he's also committing crimes. He's also violating the emoluments clauses. He's also trying to set himself up for a dynasty. He's putting his children in line for power. He's giving them authority that they should not have without being elected officials or duly appointed. There's so many reasons why Donald Trump needs to be impeached that it makes absolutely no sense for Tulsi Gabbard to be on the opposing side of this. I just have to, let me hear it one more time to make sure I'm not missing something.
Where do you stand on impeachment right this very moment?
Look, my position remains the same. I think that impeachment would be terribly divisive for our already very divided country.
I'm sorry. No, that doesn't work for me, Tulsi. And here's the weird thing. Tulsi Gabbard knows that she has an intersection that overlaps in her support base that overlaps with soft support for Donald Trump. There are people who support her who support Donald Trump at least tangentially. If I guarantee you, if it was a question between Donald Trump and the DNC, her support base, a portion of them would choose Donald Trump. And so I don't think it's just, I don't think she's really concerned about the divisiveness of it because our country is already divided. I honestly know that she has a support group that backs Donald, that would choose Donald Trump over the Democratic Party, which is extremely strange because she's running for the nomination of the Democratic Party. There's something weird about Tulsi. I have not been able to put my finger on it. And in all fairness, I haven't taken the time to really, really analyze her the way that I should. But if I just kind of spitball it here, there is a segment of the left that believes firmly that the Democratic Party is a greater threat than Donald Trump. And because of that, they will always side with someone who will not protect Donald Trump, but will not go after him in the way that the Democratic Party will go after him. That's why Saudi Arabia critique is okay. The critique of Donald Trump based on Saudi Arabia is okay because if you notice, there's not a lot of Democratic voices who are out there saying we need to get Donald Trump out of here because of his capitulation to Saudi Arabia. That's because both parties capitulate to Saudi Arabia. So her Saudi Arabia slander is fine. And it's fine with me because, go check out all my videos on all the problems with Saudi Arabia. But they do not want her support base. They do not want her to sign off on anything that is approved by the Democratic establishment. She knows that. Her supporters know that. And so this is the best explanation I can give why she would not be opposed, why she would not be in support of this. Because even if she got the nomination, which she's not, but even if she did, the inquiry would absolutely help her if Nancy Pelosi and team manage it correctly. And to be honest with you, I think they can. I see absolutely no reason. See, the question was not whether or not Nancy Pelosi was competent enough to execute the impeachment inquiry and the voting on the articles of impeachment. It was always a question of what the hell is she doing and why haven't we done this already? And now that the ball is set in motion, I have 100% confidence in the Machiavellianness, if I can make it up, of Nancy Pelosi to execute this with precision and to extract as much political pain as possible while having some sense of accountability and being responsible to her oath of office. I mean, it's both and. You literally go out. She literally has to go out here and do this because it is incumbent upon her based on her oath of office. But simultaneously, I know she's going to milk this thing with precision. And because of that, any candidate for the presidency, anybody who wins the primary, can rest assured that they have a comrade. She'll never call herself that. But they have a comrade in Nancy Pelosi executing this with precision. You think I care about the political Machiavellianism that's getting ready to take place? Absolutely not. I'm all on board for it. We need to go further. When the next president of the United States gets in office, I don't care who it is, but they need to talk about packing the court, right? We need to talk about getting rid of the Electoral College. We need to talk about making Puerto Rico a state. Well, there's a lot of things that we need to do to bring balance back to this insane, this rapidly conservative, draconian moves by Donald Trump. So for them to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, for them to maneuver in a manner that is politically expedient, I have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever, because you know why? The Republican Party has been doing that for years. Hell, for decades. Hell, for generations. They have moved in a politically Machiavellian manner, and that has given them the advantage. And it's high time that there is an actual opposition party that will hold them accountable and return fire with fire. Not go to a fist fight with kumbaya talk. Going to an all-out war singing "We Shall Overcome." Nah, we overcome by crushing them and eviscerating them, politically speaking, of course. All right, let's pause one more second. And when I come back, more people are upset about this. Hilarious.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
So, last but not least, I saw a video tweeted into my timeline on Twitter from a guy that I know well enough, and I've done work with him before, Antonio Moore, I believe. Yeah, Moore. Who's Antonio Brown? Oh, the Patriots just let him go. Anyway, Antonio Moore, who is one of the co-founders of the hashtag ADOS movement, the movement that really sincerely wants everyone to know that they are the ones that are pushing for reparations now, even though there has been a consistent push for years. But that's not the point. I saw a video of his complaining, and I could only watch a few seconds of it because I was getting ready to throw my phone across the room. I saw a video of him complaining about this impeachment proceedings, the impeachment hearings, or rather the impeachment inquiry, as something that's going to distract from our push to get reparations. Now, people, hear me out. Hear me out. I know I have a lot of supporters who are part of hashtag ADOS. Cool. I got no problem with that. That's what you want to do. That's what you're going to do. I have a lot of problems with hashtag ADOS, but I'm not here to talk about the myriad of problems I have with them. I want to talk about how utterly ridiculous it is. I mean, it's just completely asinine for you to put those two things side by side. Number one, the push for reparations has been going on for a long time. It will continue to go on with or without impeachment hearings. But to say that the entire nation should be on hold and we should not rid ourselves of a criminal who is in a white supremacist who is in the White House. Like, let's set aside the things that are constituting high crimes and misdemeanors. Because unfortunately in America, some of the most egregious things that he's doing are not considered crimes. Like, he's fostering violence. He's fostering white supremacist terrorism. You know, he is setting the nation ablaze with his hatred. And you mean to tell me that you think it is more important for us to not impeach him so that we can continue to have the focus on the conversation of reparations, when in reality, the focus is never completely on reparations. There are levels to this thing, and there always has been, and there always will be. There is the national conversation. The national conversation generally is one or two things at one or two times, right? Just we're only going to have one or two major conversations at a time. The conversation about reparations, at different times, it ebbs and it flows, but it stays consistent. And it's important that it stays consistent for us to continue to make ground on getting reparations. However, it is not necessary for us to clear the field for there to be nothing else happening in the world. There's literally nothing more important at this precise moment than ridding ourselves of the white supremacist in chief. Now, is he going to get impeached? Yes, the articles of impeachment will pass. Is he going to be found guilty? No, because there's a Republican Congress. But we are capable of impeaching him and continuing the conversation about reparations. Why? Because the conversation about reparations has continued through everything. Through everything. Now, that's me being generous. The flip side of it is there's always people who want you to focus on their issue and nothing else because that's what they talk about. That's it. I'm not saying that's all they can talk about, but that's all they are going to talk about. And honestly, it's because it's getting them the clicks, right? I mean, game recognized game. Let's just be real. And so they only want to talk about that. And when the national conversation changes in such a drastic way, there's a portion, not a portion, the vast majority of America will be talking about impeachment. Does that make reparations go away? No. Does that change our ability to ask the politicians who are running for president questions about reparations and where their policies? No, it doesn't. Listen, the world continues. Life goes on. While we impeach the president, life goes on. There still would be campaigns. There still would be organizing. There still would be debates. There still would be your YouTube show. So it makes absolutely no sense for people in context of logic and reason. It makes absolutely no sense for people to lament America using its constitutional mechanisms to hold the president of the United States accountable for fear of it distracting from the conversation about anything. And the great thing about the conversation about reparations is that it never went away. It has been here. People have been pushing for it for a very long time. Conyers H.R. 40 has been introduced every single session of Congress for at least, 15 years, maybe more, 20, I don't know how long. People have been writing about reparations, the case for reparations. The conversation has been ongoing in black communities every day. So it's not as though there's something particularly unique about impeaching Donald Trump. Except, here's the other thing. Let me be honest with you, right? There are people who are more interested in opposing the Democratic Party than they are holding Donald Trump, the white supremacist in chief, accountable. Just like there's an intersection in Tulsi Gabbard's group, there's an intersection with ADOS. Don't believe me? Do your own research. Go to Twitter and you'll see that there's a group of people in ADOS who are pro-Trump. And if they're not explicitly pro-Trump, they're tangentially pro-Trump. Or at a minimum, they are insistent that we don't talk about Trump and that we only talk about the Democratic Party, which the sum total is the same. This places Donald Trump, the white supremacist in chief, in a position that's protected, white supremacy being protected by leftists who support Tulsi Gabbard and by some black people who feel like the real fight is not against the white supremacist in chief and the white supremacy in this country, but the real fight is against, immigrants, black immigrants. All right, that's enough shade for today, but even though it's shade, it's absolutely factual. So, yeah, man, I think that's it for today's show. www.patreon.com/the BPD show. And we will see you tomorrow. Regular time, regular place. Take care.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.